I will drive to Dallas and have Trey press the withdraw to bank account.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the Signal Callers DFS Show. Today is September 10th. We're looking ahead to the games this week. I'm going to touch on Thursday Night Showdown as well as some of our favorite plays for Sunday's main slate. I'm Kevin. I've got Blake and Trey here with me as always. What's going on tonight, boys?
What's up, man? Yeah, we've been alluding to wanting to try to get ahead and preview some of this stuff as opposed to just doing reactive lineup reviews. So excited to get into this and break down our first slate, and we'll try to do more of this going forward.
I'm excited, right? I think we got good momentum coming from week one. I'm itching. Can we ride the heater?
I hope so, man. I know my wife would be really excited. I keep telling her about Trey and y'all's wins, and she's wondering where mine are. So,
a little bit of wins, right? Yeah, a little bit. Hey, green's green, baby.
Which is a win. So, let's jump right into to tomorrow's showdown slate between Green Bay and Washington. We're going to kind of keep this short and sweet. Me and Trey are just going to kind of touch on some of our favorite captain plays and just kind of macro feel or macro level views from the game. I'll kick it off. I think my two favorite captain plays are probably Jacobs and Debo right now. Now this is Wednesday night, so the game is tomorrow. We still got some time to kind of flesh out our final thoughts, but this is, and I just to clarify, I usually play like small field spy, and I usually put 20 entries into the $3 play action. That's where I kind of get a little weird with my entries. Sly, in the spy, I usually kind of go a little chalkier or a little less off the reservation. So Trey, what are you thinking about? Just from a bird's eye view for this one.
Yeah, I'm going to be traveling to Chicago tomorrow, so I'm hoping to play this slate, but I still got to analyze the pricing, but I think it's just like a high level, right? Like I really like this matchup. I think from what we can gather from last week with both teams, I think Parsons brings, something to that Green Bay defense that's going to challenge. I mean, obviously Goff is a statue compared to Jaden Daniels, but I think it's an interesting matchup, and I think both teams are going to challenge each other to unlock the passing game a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So at captain, you know who I want to pick. It's Bill Krosky-Merritt, man. Just keep riding that momentum. I think we'll see where ownership condenses, but I think he's looking, at least initially, like a little bit of a pay up to be contrarian leverage captain here. Eckler only outsnapped him, I think, in week one by like 10 snaps. And I think with like his efficiency, he had 10 for 82 and a tutty.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that gap gets closer to 50-50 split. Maybe he even gets more touches week two. Who knows? But I like him. And then a couple of, I think just some flex-worthy mentions, right? Like I think there's this weirdness with Jaden Reed in this Jones fracture in his foot. It's a short week, Thursday night game. Like I'm willing to bet against him, I think. And again, we'll see how ownership comes in. But it feels like there's some fragility in like the pass catcher's room for Green Bay. Like I don't know that there's
because they rotate so much,
right? And I don't know that there's really $1,800 worth of value or difference between like him and Golden. I mean, there's Wicks, there's Tucker Kraft is coming. So I think one of these, like I think Jordan Love kind of needs opponents to push Matt LaFleur and gang to call aggressive games and open up the passing play script a bit. So I think one of these Green Bay pass catchers is going to be viable, and it just kind of comes down to ownership and price adjusted value.
It's kind of what we talked about in the last episode when we were talking about the matchups, and it's like one of these guys is going to be in the optimal, if not the optimal captain. It's just who's it going to be every game, right? It's going to be tough to pick. So you're probably going to barbell these like entries if you decide to go with one of them. So for me, and like when I'm thinking about like a spy entry, I'm probably not going there for captain, but that kind of picking one of those and going with them in like the play action. Usually I like to just pick two like lower owned captains and split my 20 entries between the two of them for the play action, because it's more of a super large field. I'm not exactly sure how many. I don't think it's as many as the Millie, but it's definitely up there. So you got to kind of get weird with it. So yeah.
And circling back to your pick on Jacobs real quick, I like it from the angle of like the Packers don't really have an RB2 right now, like literally. So
yeah,
he's gonna get
my boy Marshawn hurt.
Right, but
he was on the field for 42 of 47 snaps, 19 carries. I mean, he's got a streak of 10 games, I think, going back to last year with a touchdown. So he's probably not going to be super low owned. I feel like he's going to be one of the more popular captain picks, but I do think that Jaden is probably the most likely, the most likely to be the highest owned captain. I love, obviously, every lineup I'm going to force Jaden on. I don't think that you can not have, I don't think you should fade him. I think it's like a situation like last week where, if you faded Hurts, for lack of a better word, it hurts. So
right.
Yeah, I feel like it's the same situation.
Yeah. And the flip side with Jacobs is dude, I mean, they got it. The Green Bay's got a 2-man wrecking crew with Rashawn Gary, Micah Parsons now. They sucked the life out of David Montgomery and Gibbs last year. So, it's again, I'm interested to see where the ownership lies, but I love the usage. But I mean, this pretty stout defense he's gone against, so we'll see.
Yeah. So, just outside looking in, I think this game's actually kind of interesting. And I think what we saw in the last couple of showdowns, like the winning lineups or the optimal lineups had QBs at captain, right? And so, and I think, like I said, I'll throw together a lineup in 5 minutes and put it on here without thinking too much, just to watch the game and enjoy it a little bit more. But, it sounds like y'all are just totally off of Jaden Daniels or Jordan Love here. Like Josh Jacobs, I could kind of see because you can build a narrative. Hey, Green Bay's just going to run the ball, and then you throw, he's going to get 2-3 touchdowns. But do y'all not see Jordan Love or Jaden Daniels as a captain as being optimal?
Yeah, I mean, I do. And in fact, it makes me more bullish on the QBs because for Green Bay, the ambiguous pass catching room, I kind of just want Jordan Love.
I think you can almost solo Josh Jacobs, right?
It's more likely that if he's spreading the ball around, he's the optimal captain in 4-2 or on Green Bay onslaughts, right? But I mean, he's got some rushing ability too. So, and then obviously on the other side, Jaden Daniels is just too elite to ignore.
I mean, if you look at the Philly Cowboys game, Hurts rushed in 2 touchdowns. Lamar and Josh. If the QBs are rushing touchdowns in, then you need them.
At the captain.
If they're not bringing anybody along with them on these scoring plays, then you're you're screwed if you don't go that route. So obviously, Jaden, he's one of the guys that you trust to at least score 1 on the ground. So I mean, I'm not going to say I'm completely off of him. I'm going to look and see what the ownership projections are tomorrow and kind of make my pick. I'm usually trying to stay completely. I don't like to go with the highest, the chalkiest captain. I kind of like to come down a little bit, especially in the SPY, or the lower field size.
The smaller fields, you like to get away from the chalk.
Yeah, because I feel like look at what Trey did when he won. He
or just not top chalk is what you're saying. Right. Not the most chalk.
Completely off the board. I'm not going 1% captain, but Javonte. Yeah. I think Javonte was single digit captain ownership 4%. in those. Yeah. So if it hits, you got a shot to win the whole thing. If you go with a Jaden or if you would have went with Hurts, then you gotta have to
feel like you're playing for a bigger split.
Yeah, and you got to get more right on the back end too, with the lower price guys too. So we'll see.
That's kind of why I'm going back to the well at running back captain. Obviously, riding the momentum in my first week, Javonte Williams captain call, maybe JCM here. That allows you a lot of price flexibility in the flex if you want to get in Jaden Daniels and some of these studs in the passing game and still leave some salary and find ceiling. So,
because I'm pretty sure, and I haven't done this, but I'm pretty sure if you just went and hit optimize and let it spit out what it the base level one would be, I'm almost certain. Let me see if I can do it real quick.
It's Jaden Daniels, captain.
Yeah,
I'm looking at it right now.
Right. So I don't think that that's a bad play by any means, because Jaden just might be the guy.
He's going to score the most points,
right?
On the slate.
So, but in my mind, I would feel better about trying to obviously put Jaden in a flex spot. You're still rostering him, but I want to maybe differentiate myself a little bit by flipping one of the other guys into captain. So yeah, that's just kind of how I think it gets different when you're getting into like the millie and like these massive fields. Then you kind of have to just like go crazy. I was telling you guys, I don't know if anybody else played the play action that's watching, but on Sunday night, that crazy game, I think the play action, it was like the normal breakdown for like the payments is like 30,000, then it goes down to 15, then 10. It breaks down like that. They duped the first place by 35 people, and they split. I think it was like $3,000. 30 something people took away 3,000, and then second place got $190. So like,
I mean, we've seen that happen in the millie a couple times, right? Like you take that optimal lineup, and people throw it in there, and like that's just like the huge dupe. If you ever play double ups, like if you just beat that, you're in the money every time.
Exactly,
because there's just a huge block of people that just do that and throw it in there.
One last thing on this before we move on to the main slate, to kind of like combat that. I know Trey mentioned when we were going over his lineup, but just like leaving salary on the board, especially if you're coming down from like the top, like the Jaden at captain, and you're coming down, and like Trey mentioned, like a lot of people come down and then they like to shove in as many higher priced guys. That's a way for them to do it, but a lot of people are doing that. So if you just cut your salary by like 1,000, 49,000 instead of 50,000, that automatically makes you different coming off of Jaden too. So just little things like that without having to go like super crazy and go like very far down the board for like these $200 dart throws that you're hoping catch a ball. So
yeah, just my last take here on this one. I think Debo's interesting because of the Cliff Kingsbury offense, right? He's very screen heavy and kind of short A dot and let him go. And Debo killed it last week, right? He did really well. So I think this offense like really suits him. So I think he's interesting. And then of all the Green Bay people, I think the only one you can really rely on is Tucker Kraft. I think he's playing the most, running the most routes. Everybody else. Now, granted, whether it's due to injuries, it's not, but it's just a revolving door. I can't trust any of those guys.
Yeah, on the Debo front, just to kind of clean it up, he had 10 targets to Terry's 4 targets, and I think he had like 1 or 2 rushing attempts as well. So obviously, I feel like Terry's going to close that gap a little bit. He missed all the camp, and he's still kind of working his way in. He's going to get his eventually, but yeah, you still like Debo right here. And that might be just like a little bit of leverage off of Jaden, off of Jacobs, captain. So yeah, I think that's a good play too.
Kevin, cut this out.
Any closing remarks on this one, Trey, before we move on to Sunday?
Yeah, well, the other flex-worthy piece I think is interesting to mention. I think Ertz is kind of sneaky here. He's a red zone target for Jaden Daniels and Laporta. I mean, he burned the pack last week I think he had 6 for 79. So Ertz is a guy. Again, I'm interested to watch how ownership comes in on him. But yeah, it's just a wrap. Put a bow on it. Like the JCM captain pick makes me a little nervous just because what the Green Bay front did to Montgomery and Gibbs last week. But yeah, I kind of want to ride the hot hand here too. And I think one of these backs, Eckler or JC Him, hits the optimal lineup.
Yeah, for sure.
This was 3 for 26 and a touchdown.
Yeah, it was an early touchdown too.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that's a good wrap on Thursday. Looking forward to it. I love showdowns. I know Trey loves them, especially a little bit more going into.
I can't even min cash.
Like,
so fade everything I said, and you'll do well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's move on to Blake's baby. We'll move on to the main slate on Sunday. Looking forward to it. In the past, week 2 has treated me and Blake well. We've hit pretty big on week 2. So got some interesting games. I think we're going to touch on. Let's start off on the negative side a bit. Let's talk about some games that we're fading, Blake.
Yeah. So I like to shrink my player pool first, right? I'm only trying to play the best plays because I'm playing a lot of these single entry tournaments, things like that. So games I'm avoiding, I'm just like not even really going to look at it. There may be individual players I'll go add back, but Denver, Indianapolis, I'm just out. Buffalo, New York Jets, out. I don't see that one being a great one. And Seattle, Pittsburgh. I think those are the Seattle offense is just going to be terrible, and Pittsburgh. I'm skeptical. I'll say, right. So those are the 3 games, the 6 teams that I'm taking out my player queue for this week.
Yeah.
Blake, what's your approach for kind of whittling down the game selection into your player pool? Is it just pace or over under spread? Like how do you kind of look at that?
Pace is the big one. Pace, and then also I'll look at the total, but I take pace into more. And then how concentrated is the offense is a really big one for me, because that sets a floor, a good floor. And like I said, I'm just trying to play the best plays here. So looking at Buffalo, New York Jets. Yeah, I think the offense is going to be very concentrated on the Jets side. It's going to be a lot of Fields, a lot of Garrett Wilson, a lot of Breece Hall. Again, those are 3 great players, but I think Buffalo's kind of too good, and I think they're going to play a lot better than Pitt played. I'm calling fluke on the Jets, Pittsburgh last week. Seattle is just that. Sam Darnold was not good last week, and he's going up against TJ Watt, and I think the Steelers have a huge bounce back defense there. So I'm looking at pace. I don't, the Jets in Pittsburgh surprisingly wasn't a very crazy paced game or anything like that. Buffalo, New York Jets is projected to be a very slow paced game. And Buffalo spreads the ball out so much or Josh Allen just kind of takes a ton. Right. And you'll get your fluke catches like Keon Coleman with that touchdown there that really helped his fantasy night. But yeah, it's a lot of pace. I do look at the over a little bit. I don't really care about the over. It's mainly pace and concentration on the offense. How predictable is that game to me?
Yeah. And that Denver, that Broncos Colts game feels like it's going to be a showdown of the top defenses, right? I think.
Yeah.
So naturally that might be low scoring.
I am skeptical of the Colts defense. I think they're good because they were doing some crazy scheme stuff from watching the ball knowers on Twitter, right?
I just want to touch on the Jets really quickly. I think that Fields is a good way to kind of get some leverage off of Lawrence. They're priced like very similarly, and I think that Lawrence might be one of the highest owned quarterbacks on the slate, just because we'll touch on it in a second. But that game environment, the Jags Bengals is probably going to be one of the most owned games. So if you want to get some easy leverage off of Lawrence, and I think that Fields. I mean, we just saw what Lamar did to Buffalo. I'm not saying that Fields is Lamar, but I think
he looked like it last week.
Right. This is kind of one of those games where you're like, this kind of tells you a little bit of how true what week 1 was, right? If Fields can kind of come in and replicate it, or at least do look similarly, good. So I think I'm probably going to chase the Fields play. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just do a Fields skinny and I'll just avoid Garrett Wilson. But
they're at home in $5,700 for Fields. Yeah. Like that's.
Yeah, so
Fields skinny is not scary.
Yeah, and
you're not losing a lot, and he's going to get there with his rushing floor.
Right. I feel like he's got a pretty safe floor. I don't see him burning me, and he's a little bit of leverage off of Lawrence, who's right next to him in price. So I think I'm probably definitely gonna go towards Fields from those games. Maybe I'll probably avoid the other ones like you said, but Fields is standing out to me as like somebody that I probably want to plant my flag on. Right now, Trey, on Wednesday.
yeah, I hear you. Trey, any games here that I'm crazy on for avoiding?
No, like I said, I follow you on the logic with the Denver game and the Colts. I think it'll be slow paced.
And I still don't think Daniel Jones is that good. I think Miami was just that bad last week. I think.
Right. No,
we'll touch on Miami in a second, I'm sure.
I mean, obviously, Buffalo's a team I never want to avoid just because Josh Allen is him. But I see the logic there. And then, Seattle Pitt. That one, I might push back a little bit just because I'm liking how the price adjusted value on a guy like JSN is looking, considering what Wilson did to against Pitt last year. JSN looks like him this year. And so 6,000, I think early projections, like modest ownership, 10-12%. I always like when I do play Classic and take my advice for what it's worth, because I don't have a lot of success with it. But I always try to like get a receiver in that 4,500 to 6,500 range. And he's the guy, as I just like an initial glance at the slate at that position that, I kind of want to be in on. So, but yeah, I get your logic for avoiding those games environments for sure.
Yeah. So I guess, that's a good transfer into the games that we do like. And I think I'm going to call it the chalk game, right? I think that's the best way to look at it. Chalk game of the week is Bengals Jags. I think the idea is Bengals bounce back this week. I think Joe Burrow only had like just over 100 yards passing last week. Something disgusting, which Bryce Young did better than that against Jags in, a very poor showing. Bengals Jags, I think I think this is a great spot for a Burrow Chase, and there's so much value in the slate here. How are y'all playing this one?
I think Chase and BTG are due for bounce back games, right? Like, so big alpha receiver week 2. I mean, ego's on the line, right? Both teams.
This kind of goes against like what we were talking about last time with paying up for the running backs, because you're going to have to pay up if you want to put Chase and BTJ in your lineup. Chase is 8,100, BTJ is 6,700, so obviously a little bit of a difference, but BTJ, we feel like he's one of those guys that can break a slate, right? He can potentially put a 30-point game on the board. Obviously, we know what Chase can do. So it's how much you trust whether or not Trevor and Liam Cohen are going to like put it together within a week, right? So there was some weird scenarios going on in last week's game with the lightning delay, and they just looked off. So I think a lot of people are probably going to be gravitating towards this one. But I could very easily see Chase, Brian Thomas Jr. being like guys that you absolutely have to have on the slate, like some good chalk. So I agree. I'm probably going to have at least one of these guys, if not just going for the double.
I agree. This is kind of shaping up to be like the chalk game. I mean, early projected ownership has, interestingly, Chase at around 16%, T Higgins at 20%, BTJ at 13%, Travis Hunter at 6%. So Travis Hunter could be a little bit of leverage on BTJ. There's some smoke coming out that he might play a little more cornerback this week, and so you can kind of follow that trail and say, well, maybe that's just smoke screen. And obviously he's a game breaker, Heisman Trophy winner, so he's a way you could play it to get leverage off of that. But interesting ownership.
And they definitely show that they want to like manufacture him touches and get him the ball. Especially with like his usage from last week. So
talking about Travis Hunter, or are you talking about BTJ here?
Travis Hunter,
because I don't.
Cohen came out and said that he wants to get BTJ more touches and manufacture him more touches too. So it's like
he kind of threw Trevor Lawrence under the bus, saying like, "Hey, like Trevor screwed a lot of this up."
Yeah, he did. So I don't know. It's like you said, one of those guys is going to be right. So it's whichever route.
Which means it's going to be De'Ami Brown.
Right. What is Trey? Right. Yeah. or Brenton Strange. Right.
Nobody expected Jahan Dotson to lead the Eagles in receiving.
That's right. What do they have for ownership projections for ETN?
So that's where I was going to go, because the ownership projections of ETN I think are actually kind of low.
Chase Brown too, probably.
Chase Brown, they got him at 17.44. Okay. ETN at 7.37. So still kind of flying under the radar.
And ETN is at 5,700. Chase Brown's like 60. Chase Brown's, I guess for his usage, that's a pretty good price. But I mean, I'm just looking at ETN and like I think that Cincy defense is bad. I think the Cincy defense is really bad.
The sixth highest priced back on the slate. I think people are going to gravitate towards the Bengals players. They want to be in on the bounce back. I would think. They're the sexier names. Coming off of last year, obviously. So
I mean, if this projection holds around 17% for Chase Brown, I think that's really good, no matter what tournament size you're playing, right? Because this guy's a workhorse. Like they're really trying to feature him.
Yeah. They got some good
I
pieces.
kinda like that
I
play.
definitely think that you should not try to like fade this game to be contrarian. I definitely feel like this is one of those that you're gonna want pieces from, and if you try to fade it, you're gonna regret it. Especially
Yeah.
if Chase goes for 50, which is in his bag. So yeah, I
This
definitely
game
am
has
gonna have pieces for sure.
a lot of paths to upside, man.
For sure.
I mean, Jags defense is solid, but they're not really like run stopping. So I think Chase Brown, integral piece of that offense. And then on the other side of it, Bengals defense sucks. So you got three guys,
Definitely
Etienne, Hunter, and BTJ that could really open things up.
So while we were doing this, you got me thinking. It's like, what was Brian Thomas Jr.'s splits with Mac Jones versus Trevor Lawrence? Right.
It wasn't good. I could tell you that.
I ran it through Grok, so whether it's right or not, we'll see. Trevor Lawrence, 9 games, 35 receptions, 53 targets, 595 receiving yards, 5 TDs. So about 13.8 fantasy points per game.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad. Mac Jones, 8 games, 52 receptions, so 17 more receptions, 80 targets, 27 more targets, 687 yards, so a little, 90 more yards, 92 more yards, and the same amount of TDs, 5. So that comes out to be 18.8 points per game. So,
well, the only thing I'll push back on, because I've seen this argument before on Twitter. Obviously, it's a pretty common argument. A lot of that was at the beginning of the year, right? When Brian Thomas Jr. obviously was a rookie last year, and the first few games are factored into that Trevor Lawrence number too. So, I'm not saying that it isn't something like cause for concern, because in game 1 of this year, he clearly wasn't like hyper targeting him like you would expect him to, right? So
he should be getting double-digit targets
for sure. So yeah, I definitely think it's something for cause for concern, but I don't want to shy away because of that. So we're LSU guys, obviously. So anytime we can jam an LSU guy on the team, I would much rather prefer to root for one of them if I can. So
unless they have Russell Wilson as their quarterback, which burned me last week on my backup lineup.
That one hurt. Let's talk about Chicago Detroit, which was our next favorite game environment.
Man. So I guess the first question you have to ask yourself for this is, are you buying or selling last week's results? I don't think Chicago did poorly, but like they fell off, right? They started really hot, then fell off, and then Detroit did poorly. But there's some really interesting things about Detroit there. Like Amon-Ra had he's like 7 targets or something like that, 5 or 7 targets. He didn't get a lot of targets, but Gibbs with 10 receptions is really interesting to me. So yeah, are you guys buying or selling the performances last week of Chicago and Detroit?
I mean, the thing about Chicago too, to put it into perspective, they were playing JJ McCarthy, who was playing his first start on the road in prime time, so I think the lights got a little too bright for him at the very beginning, and it showed. So once he kind of settled in and he was able to like get into a rhythm, he was able to kind of pick them apart to an extent, and the run game was working too. That really helped kind of settle him down too. So I don't know, but then like you mentioned, Goff faring better indoors. His splits at home and away are like night and day. They're like Drew Brees numbers when he was in the league. So they
only played 2 games outside last year.
Yeah, he's like a completely different quarterback when he's at home. So it's also a narrative thing too. Like, do you buy that this is just a fluke game from Detroit, or is there something to losing both coordinators, losing their center, having a first-time play caller? Like, is there something to that? I don't know. Amon-Ra has been like almost like game proof in his production. Like he has just been able to put up numbers regardless, like for the past 3 years. So it's a tough spot. I don't know if what are some of like the ownership projections on this game? Do we have any that are high?
Goff is at 2.38. Let's see. Gibbs is at 14.5. I mean, this is still early too, right? I think Gibbs at 7,400, 14.5 is pretty interesting in a home game here. If you want to like buy, I think he might actually probably come in lower than that, because I think there's some good value in the slate. I mean, do we care about David Montgomery? David Montgomery's at 4.5%.
Because Gibbs would be the fourth. Gibbs is the fourth highest priced running back on the slate.
Yeah. We're looking at Amon-Ra at 6.5%, and then Jameson's like 3%. But this goes to a very distributed offense. I don't know where I would go, to be honest. Like, I think Jameson can break a game at any point, so that scares me on playing Amon-Ra.
You did it multiple times last year.
And Gibbs is going to get the volume. Like that's the only play I feel good about is Gibbs for the Detroit. But I think this is a great game for that.
I feel like a lot of people are going to lean into like the more traditional double stack where they go Goff, Amon-Ra, Jameson, where you could probably do Gibbs and switch Amon-Ra or Jameson out for Gibbs, and that would be maybe a way to get a little bit different. There's a few different options for a bring back on Chicago side if you want to go that route too. So I mean, it's definitely an interesting game, and I wonder if a lot of people are going to be off of it just because of how poor these teams looked last week.
I think it's an interesting matchup just because it's Ben Johnson returned into Detroit. And so that narrative, I think, and I think for those reasons, people are going to look at this game. The guy who's kind of standing out to me, you said it, Jameson Williams, 2.86%, explosive ceiling. I mean, I'd rather play him over Swift or, I did like. I mean,
we got DJ Moore at 9.2% and $5,600.
Right. I'm just seeing that price. It's $100 cheaper than Jameson for a wide receiver one in Ben Johnson's offense. That could be an interesting little mini correlation bring back.
He could have had a lot bigger game last week if Caleb Williams was able to throw the ball into a window.
I actually really like that little mini stack.
I'm looking at Rome too. Rome's at 4,800. Man, the DK pricing on wide receivers has gotten.
Yeah, man. We talked about it on the recap show. It's kind of hard to not stuff these high priced running backs in there and just play some of these like mid priced dudes at the receiver, because these are all guys that we were talking about how much we loved all best ball season, right? Like in the 3rd and 4th round, 5th round. So I mean, yeah, it's hard to look away from them once you see that. So I haven't really run any lineups for Sunday. I anticipate having some of these guys in there for sure, in that pool for sure. Let's move on to the next game that we have on our best game environment. It's actually the Saints and the 49ers, which call us homers all you want, but there is some real value in this game.
We're not even the ones saying it's best game environment, right? True. We're pulling this from other sources, like saying, hey, like this is a good game environment. Like we were talking about it naturally, then we looked it up right before the show and like, right. Okay, wow. Yeah. So I love this game because one, I think Mac Jones at $4,000. Like if you're trying to just play straight cash lineups, he's going to get you the floor. I think Kyle Shanahan, is going to scheme up. Yeah. He's going to scheme up a really good game plan, and Mac Jones isn't a scrub. Kyle Shanahan wanted Mac Jones originally, and we just talked about how Brian Thomas scored more points with Mac Jones. So I'm not scared about playing Pearsall or Jennings, anybody. And then you just look across the aisle at the Saints. They were so condensed last week. What was it? I think Juwan had 11 or 13 targets. Juwan Johnson, he's $3,300 ish this week. Olave is 4,900, and he had 13ish targets last week. So that's 26 targets.
He went down in price.
Yeah, he went down in price, and we're talking 26 targets between those two. I
think a lot of people are just going to be completely off this game just because the perception of the Saints is that, I mean, we talked about it, how like they were very clearly not the worst team on Sunday, just in the NFL or how they looked, but I've seen multiple like, in social media posts and stuff like that, and from like pretty reputable sources where they're still putting the Saints as like the worst team in the league. So
they could have won the game.
I know a lot of that just tells me that people just didn't pay attention to the Cardinals Saints game last week, and they're just completely off of it this week. Purdy's out. Nobody really wants the Saints.
It's a low total. I think it might be the lowest total. It's 31.5.
I mean, But it's two very concentrated offenses that we talked about already. Like, the ball's going to Olave. It's going to Jawan Johnson
41-5
on the Saints. So, and, Shaheed is always a burner. He's always a deep threat option. And yeah, on the other side, obviously Pearsall. And these guys are super low price. Like, and then you can jam CMC in there if you want to. And I feel like that's a good play. Also to kind of So.
Yeah, I mean, obviously CMC's got an insane role with all the injuries there. I'm not falling for the Mac Jones trap, Blake. He's never scored 21 fantasy points in his whole career.
Really?
Never. But I do think the Saints side of it all, as Kevin was alluding to, is interesting, right? Like, Chris Olave had a 12-target game last week, and his price decreased to $4,900. And he's still showing for
15 targets. Don't short the man.
Yeah, and had a catch taken away from him, by the way. And is only still shown for 6.5% ownership. Rashid Shaheed, 4,500. Like, this team, the 49ers are decimated with injuries. Like, they might have to get Vernon Davis and these guys back in here to fill the lineup. Like,
yeah, and I mean, they're coming from the West Coast. We talked about you always hear about how West Coast teams coming from the West Coast to play these early noon games don't look like their routines are thrown off a little bit. So could be a slow start for them. It's at home for New Orleans in the Dome. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna keep. I feel like we're just gonna keep coming back to these dudes all year, just because nobody wants them. They're going to be low owned. You can do the chalkier plays elsewhere in your lineup because you're going to be putting like single digit ownership guys here.
Yeah.
And the volume is concentrated. That is the biggest thing that I can say, right? They're so cheap. So 13 for Olave. Man, I just looked at Rashid and I forgot.
I think he had like 6 or 7.
No, I think it was like 9.
Really?
Let me see. So I got it right here. It's loading. 9. So it's 22 between those two. Yeah. Let's go to Jawan. Jawan is.
I mean, Spencer Rattler threw the ball 46 times.
Yeah, that's all you need to know. And 11. So 33 targets. So 11 targets average between those three guys, and you're talking about an average price of like $4,200, $4,300. Like,
Jawan
you could throw
Johnson
that.
Is the tight end 1 in fantasy football, and he's 3,600.
And he could have had
also my most owned,
and it could have been by a wider margin if he comes down with that touchdown.
Yeah.
Like
my most owned tight end in best ball. So just throwing that out there.
Wow, whatever.
Yeah,
you don't got to brag about it. Okay.
The other macro thing here, despite what everybody thinks about the Saints in the national media, they had 23 no-huddle plays and the fastest neutral pace of week 1 by far. Like, Kellen Moore is calling plays at a clip that's number 1 in the league in pace. Only the Commanders top New Orleans in the week 1 no huddle rate. But Kellen Moore, I mean, they got out more plays than any team in week 1. So
and going back to your original ask there, Trey, about looking at the over versus all this other stuff. This is why I don't take the total of the game too much into effect, because when you're getting guys like, look at Puka last week, only 130 yards, no touchdowns. It's a good game. That's a really good game, but not a great game. But I think he was like the second or third highest guy on the slate because he had 10 receptions, right? So if like Rattler is a little bit more efficient, he starts throwing some more catchable balls to these guys who are getting the double digit targets. That's really how you're going to blow up, right? Especially because nobody's going to be going for these lower point games.
Yeah.
So I think that's just an edge.
I think that's a good bow on that game. Obviously, we're going to be targeting these dudes. They're probably Olave or Rashid and Jawan are going to be in the lineup for me in all of my
real
lineups.
Quick, Pearsall, yes or no?
Yeah, I think so.
He's shown for 11%. He's the number 1 guy, but I will say, dude, because I get into this stuff, like Kool-Aid McKinstry had some good tape last week. And I think he has good coverage skills. So that could be a fade position, but I mean, obviously, him and CMC is all they got. So it's kind of a pick your side there. But I like Pearsall. I think I'll have enough volume to be optimal. Just got to watch that ownership percentage.
Yeah, for sure. Let's kind of rapid fire 3 of these games. The Giants in Dallas, Cleveland and Baltimore, New England and Miami. Any of these kind of standing out? Any specific players here from any of these games?
I think I'm out on the Giants. I think I'm out on the Giants. I don't want anything to do with while Russ is there, right? I bought into Malik Neighbors. I was trying to get early on that last week, hoping Malik Neighbors have a big revenge game against Jaden Daniels. Russ is just terrible.
They're too good friends.
I do love Russ is that bad. I do love Dak. I think Dak is viable in this game. I think the Giants have a very good defensive line. They're going to have to throw the ball, and Dak looks fantastic last week. So Dak and CD and Pickens, I think, are in for a good line. Cleveland, Baltimore, I think is a really interesting game as well. Cedric Tillman has been killing it, and he's so cheap. He's cheaper than Jerry Jeudy, and he's been outperforming him. As long as Joe Flacco's there, I'm a buyer in that cheap offense, and everybody's just going to stay away because it's a bad team, right? Yeah. But as long as we mentioned Rattler, we mentioned Rattler throwing 46 passes earlier. Flacco's slinging it too every time. So I'm in there. Baltimore, play your guys sparingly there. I'd say not too interested in that team. New England, Drake May is interesting. Drake May and Kayshawn ran the most routes. So Diggs, until he's like fully healthy, probably mid-season. Maybe we got to wait for a little more confirmation there. But what do y'all think about Miami? I'm interested in buying. I think I always try to look at when people are so down on teams to buy a little bit.
That's what we thought last week. Tyreek was supposed the bad vibes all off season. Everyone thought he was a contrarian play. Didn't do anything.
I think
I don't know, man. New England's got a good defense.
Yeah, I feel like I would go Achane if I go anywheres in this game. He's just one of those guys that he can put up a 40, 50-point game. He's done it, and he's got that on his resume. So you always want to go to those guys, especially when nobody's on them. So I wouldn't mind throwing him in a lineup. I'm definitely not going to be super overweight. He's not going to be in all of my lineups like he was last week. So
I tell you what, if I play a lineup, it's going to have Drake May and TreVeyon Henderson on it. I like the New England side. I think Drake May is the most interesting paydown option at QB at only 5,200. He had 42 pass attempts, a career high for him in week 1, and some design runs. So to your point, Blake, I think the matchup might go overlooked because of how bad Miami was. If there's ever a game where the TreVeyon Henderson breakout happens, it's this game at 1.11% ownership. Against a bad Miami defense. That might be my flag plant for the classic slate this week. Drake May and TreVeyon Henderson.
He could be a good one that nobody's thinking about. Definitely.
With a Tyreek bring back or something. Get a Miami piece. I will say Achane's pretty high owned, but Tyreek 9%, Waddle 4%. So it's interesting.
I want to keep an eye on the news around Tyreek because it came out, some domestic violence stuff came out today or yesterday, so I don't know.
Probably good this week though, right?
Yeah, I would think, but you never know, right? So
I think if anything, I'll hurt ownership a little bit.
True, yeah,
a little bit, not even.
So I definitely think I'll take a closer look at that game. But yeah, like I said, I think I want to explore the Arizona game again and try to maybe go back to that for one of my 3 or 4 lineups. I usually only build 3 or 4 because I'm playing single entry and 3 max. So I'll probably play around with that one for sure.
So my worries about that though is Arizona's got a really good pass defense, right? And Arizona's, I'd say, a more run heavy team. Right, with James Conner, Kyler obviously being a rushing quarterback, and then Trey Benson factoring in a good bit now. And the Panthers are the worst run defense right now in the league. 1 week sample, basically, right? But I think that's what I'm worried about there is they just say, hey, we can run the ball, so we're a good running team. We're going to run the ball against a bad running defense.
Yeah, I could see it. I mean, again, this isn't priority for me, but for whatever reason they're just kind of standing out as something I want to play around with when I'm building. So maybe
I will say I like the concentrated offense there, right? It just makes you feel safe, and I think that's maybe that's what it is that you're going for.
So any other spots that we want to touch on game wise, or maybe we want to move into some player takes that we haven't touched on yet. I know we have kind of touched on some of these that we have on the dock, but
I think we hit the games that like form the basis of player pool. I will say, even Blake mentioned Giants, Dallas. On the Dallas side, I think Pickens is interesting this week. There's been some coach speak about getting him more targets.
Mm-hmm.
Low ownership. Obviously, in this Arizona Carolina game, I like Tet. I really like James Conner. I think in this matchup at 6,600. I think that's a slight price decrease from last week.
Do y'all have any takes on the Philly receivers?
I think this week would be a better week because I think Kansas City's run defense is just absolutely incredible.
And you had all week, well, a week plus, hearing about how like they didn't factor in at all. I wonder if there's some type of like narrative about trying to just get them involved.
Yeah, maybe. I think as long as all running backs are pretty inefficient last week, but like if Hurts is running the ball and Barkley's able to do enough, I don't think they'll ever be throwing. I don't think they don't want to throw. They're going to just be so safe running the ball. They don't need to throw the ball. So that's what scares me. The passing volume is just not there.
Yeah, I mean Hollywood Brown is going to be chalk at 15%. AJ Brown is at 8%, and Devonta Smith's at 4.6%. So if you believe in a bounce back, I mean, this could be the week to target them.
So let's do this. Let's go position by position to kind of close this out. I know we didn't really prepare, but let's go position by position and pick a flag plant for this.
Okay.
I think that'll be a good wrap up here. So Kevin, you want to go first?
You got mine at QB is Drake May. I think he is the like a 10th lowest priced quarterback on the slate. The other 9 below him, you don't even want to play, maybe besides Bryce Young.
And just to frame this for the context, are you talking like large field, small field?
Either one. I
you're playing them all over because like the 5.85% is pretty nice at that price and value.
The pass attempts and the design runs, and he's playing Miami, so if there's a breakout game, based on what we saw Miami do last week.
Yeah. I mean, if these ownership projections hold, it's really going to be hard not to have a lot of Drake May.
I definitely think I want to build a team around him. For me, I mentioned it earlier. I think I am chasing the Fields week one game. I haven't decided fully if I'm going to like lean into Garrett Wilson or if I'm just going to go Fields skinny. But like I mentioned, I think he's good leverage off of Trevor at basically the same price. We saw what Lamar did versus Buffalo last week. Again, don't clip this. I'm not saying that Justin Fields is Lamar, but I do think that like there's a blueprint, right, for like for ways to attack Buffalo's defense. So I like him in what I think could potentially be a low owned spot. I think people are kind of in the same camp of Blake. They want to see it again before they believe it, or they just are, or they like I've been burnt by him before. Could he come out and completely like disappoint? Absolutely. This is not a lock by any means, but I think I'm gonna lean into it and plant my flag on him for sure.
So you mentioned that big week 2 we both had a couple years ago, right? And it was purely leaning into something that people were a little skeptical of. I think it was the first year of Tua and Waddle in Miami with McDaniels, and there was a very concentrated passing volume that week 1 that didn't hit. A kind of very similar situation we've been talking to, and then that week 2 is when they played the Ravens. The Ravens went out to that huge lead, and the Dolphins had a screaming comeback. Right.
And Mark Andrews caught like 2 touchdowns. Lamar had an insane game. Yeah, it was everybody in that game ate.
It was a great game environment. Yeah. So I like that. So for me, I think, I'm going team play the best plays. Not really. Like Trey said, I don't think the ceiling is there so much, but and I think you're wrong about the 23 points per game max. Mac Jones, I think, is where I'm going to go. Just the value is just screaming to me.
I'm not wrong. He's never scored over 21 fantasy points in a game his whole life.
He's had 3 touchdowns multiple times.
Go look at his game log. Mac Jones.
Maybe without calculating points and everything right now, like maybe I'll give you the benefit of the doubt, but
You're going to
he's
play
got
Mac Jones
at $4,000. Yes. Yeah. I mean, if he throws one touchdown,
He beats me. I was not meant to win that week.
Yeah, I hear you on that.
but also like let's think about Mac Jones a little bit. Where has he played? New England, which has had really no receiving talent, and it's been a kind of weak offense when he was there, right? Really weak offense. And then Jacksonville last year, which was, the coach got fired.
Kevin, please cut this whole segment that Blake is wasting talking about Mac Jones. Is this your flag plan at quarterback or what?
For the fields I'm playing, yeah. For like the tournaments I'm playing, I think Mac Jones is where I'm going.
Blake?
Dude,
21 fantasy points.
All timer if he actually ships something.
Oh yeah. Oh,
0.5% ownership. Have at it.
Blake's
my
like, don't let me win. Don't let me bank with Mac Jones.
I will drive to Dallas and have Trey press the withdraw to bank account
Gladly,
button for me.
That's funny. Trey, what about running back for you? You got any flag plans running back wise?
I mean, I'm just gonna go back to. I said Trevion Henderson. I think he maybe this is the week 2 breakout for him. Yeah, I'm gonna go Trevion. I also like it. I also really like Breece Hall, and this is not just game log chasing. I think Buffalo showed us that line could be pushed around, as evidenced what Derrick Henry did to them. And so I think he's a good value, 2.86% ownership.
Mm-hmm.
So he's another guy. Breece Hall and Trevion are kind of sticking out to me.
For me, I'll give 2 as well. I like ETN. I think I want to keep.
I was going to be my other guy. Yeah.
They just traded Bigsby. Kind of like a sign of support, a show of support. I feel like could be viewed that way. Also, this is the best game environment that we talked about, right? The Bengals defense is absolute cheeks. We just saw what Cleveland did to them, and I do think that it is Tootin is interesting. I wouldn't play him, except maybe in like some type of Millie or MME type of situation. But I am interested to see what happens with Tootin in this game. But yeah, just going back to ETN, he's leveraged off of Chase Brown, who is going to be higher owned, a little bit more expensive too. So, but we talked about it too. My other guy would be Gibbs. I think he is just going to eat at home in that environment. I feel like maybe they have some type of chip on their shoulder, coming off of their, bad showing in week 1. Maybe want to put it to another, division rival that a lot of people were hyping up all off season. So I could definitely see him getting that insane volume workload that we talked about all summer. So I like those 2 guys for sure.
Yeah. So because I'm going so cheap at quarterback this week, I think it's really going to open me up to play just premium everywhere else.
Yeah.
And so I think I'm with you here on Gibbs, Kevin. I think he's going to have a huge bounce back week. So, I mean, just in general, I'll probably look at the play Gibbs, McCaffrey, Achane, or Brown, right? 3 of those 4 potentially, depending on how everything shakes out. But yeah, I think Gibbs is my favorite just because they're at home. I think Dan Campbell is going to say, "Hey, we're gonna flex a little bit. We got embarrassed last week, so let's bounce back." Yeah, I like Gibbs at his price and ownership, and because I'm saving so much money, I don't care. I'll pay up.
Yeah, I like that call.
No, I have no complaints with that. That's my guy.
What about you at wide receiver, Trey?
So because I picked Drake May at quarterback, I'm gonna go back to a New England piece here and say Kayshon Boutte. Man, I mean, look, you guys know it. Y'all are LSU boys. That 2020 class, he was ranked ahead of JSN. He was a surefire first round pick. Had some injuries, and I think a year 3 breakout is in the cards for him. We talked about it last episode about, we're kind of seeing an evolution from the year 2 guys to the year 3 guys having a breakout. And, he was leading that room there last week, and they obviously have chemistry. I mean, he closed the season last year as Drake May's favorite target. Diggs looks like he's still shaking off some rust. So, he's the guy for me there. I'll mention other guys, but I think you guys will pick some of them. I mentioned earlier, I think Travis Hunter is an interesting way to play that Jacksonville Cincy game. And the other guy I liked was DJ Moore.
Okay.
The price adjusted value there. I think, Ben Johnson's guy going back to his own old offense. I think he's going to weaponize him against Detroit.
Yeah. I love it. I've been a Booty fan for a while. I was hyping him up to all my dynasty leagues that I'm in with guys that aren't LSU guys, telling them that was the guy that they needed to be looking at. And then
big booty season, baby.
Big booty season. And of course he let me down.
Love it.
But he's still an LSU wide receiver, and we know the cachet that carries in the league. So and he's one of the forgotten guys. Everybody was talking
He
about
was a first round talent.
Absolutely. He was the guy until he was
the wide receiver one in college until he.
Yeah. I love it. I think that he's in for a good year for sure.
Only 23.
Yeah, I'm gonna continue the trend of LSU guys. I'm gonna go to Brian Thomas. We talked about this game environment again, going back to the well. I just think that listening to Liam Cohen talk about how they know that they need to get him involved. We know what he can do, and I know there's talk about whether or not he can get it done with Trevor Lawrence, and whether or not Trevor Lawrence himself can get it done. But I just want to bet on talent in this environment. I'm just going to go for it. We know that he can nuke, and he can go wide receiver one on the week as well within the card. So I want another piece of that, and I'm going pretty low owned on quarterback, so I feel like I can eat some of this chalk from this game, but I feel like he's going to come in lower owned than Chase, so a little bit of a leverage play off of Chase. So and I'll touch on this one. I don't know if Blake was going to mention him or not, but Olave, we've obviously been on him all show. We're just going to keep riding him until the wheels fall off.
Until he doesn't get double-digit targets.
Right, exactly. So, those are my two guys for sure.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of really interesting value on this slate. So, but I think I'm going to put my flag plant. I'm going to buy into the chalk here for Chase, right? Because going to what I said about the quarterback, I'm saving so much there. I'm able to really just get those super high ceiling guys. I think Jamar Chase is due for a bounce back. They're at home. Jacksonville is one of the weaker against wide receivers, I'd say. And I think Joe's going to feed his guy.
Yeah.
Joe's going to feed his guy. But because it's such a high one, I kind of do want to give another. Kevin already hit Olave. Olave is probably the cheap option I'd go. But it's just so there's so many interesting names that I like that are so cheap. 4,800 Rome Odunze, Cedric Tillman against Baltimore, right? 4,300. It's just so cheap. So, I like a lot of these guys. I like a lot of the wide receivers, but mainly because I'm going so cheap at quarterback, I'm going to pay for the super high 50-point ceiling and kind of the known commodity there in Jamar Chase.
Yeah, I said I think the key is finding the right guys or mix of guys in that 4K to 6,500 price range. So there's a lot of them on this slate.
Yeah, that's why you get it at quarterback. Then you can go to the 8,000 for a wide receiver.
Yeah,
we've touched on it a little bit here, but Trey, do you have a flag plan at tight end?
Yeah. So usually my game theory with classic lineup building at tight end is I always try to get the elites because if you look at what those guys, how they score and how it separates from the rest of the field, it would be like at quarterback, Jaden Daniels scoring 28 points and the next highest guy scoring 12. JM to win it a 1 week season talks about this a lot. So he tries to anchor in one of those elite tight ends. Well, there's only Trey McBride on this slate. He's going to be pretty chalky. So I'm going to veer away from that. And I'm going to go to two guys who were week one darlings. Three guys actually, but I'm going to mention Harold Fannin and Jawan Johnson and Tyler Warren. All three of those guys are sticking out to me as super low owned. Everyone's going to want to get to McBride. Tyler Warren and Harold Fannin set records last week. They look like clear league winners at the position. They look like they could be this year's McBride and Bowers, both of those guys. So I'm looking there just to get a little bit of leverage on the McBride track. Everyone's going to funnel to McBride. Those three guys kind of stick out to me, Jawan, Fannin, and Tyler Warren. at
I
this
love it.
So pick one. Yeah. Plant your flag.
We know who it's going to be.
Dalton Kincaid did well against Baltimore. I'll go Fannin.
Yeah. Yeah.
With a curveball.
Hell yeah. Well, it's not a curveball for me. I knew that was coming.
Denver's defense is
Dalton
really
Kincaid.
good, so.
Boom.
Yeah. When he said Dalton Kincaid, I was like, what? No, yeah. I think this is going to be an interesting week for Warren too, because they're playing Denver, right? So we're going to learn a lot, I feel, about him, whether or not he's for real playing against this defense. If he comes out and repeats last week's performance, I think that like he's going to be one of the guys moving forward that we're going to be like, okay, he's got it in him for sure.
And it really feels, I mean, obviously receiver, but it really feels like tight end is where you can make your money this week, because everyone's going to try to get to McBride. If he, for some reason, doesn't put up a McBride number or performance, like you can get some differentiation here.
Yeah. For me, I'm also interested in Juwan, but you know, I kind of want to highlight Hunter Henry, because I mean, you've been talking about that game a lot with Drake May, and I'm trying to pull up his stats real quick just to see. I know he had a pretty good game.
His snaps and routes were up compared to the last few years he's been there, so that's a really good sign.
4 for 66. You know, he's had a pretty good connection with Drake May, you know, going back to last year. So I do think that that's a way that you can kind of be a little cheap without going like, you know, stone cold bottom of the barrel. I'm again want to go back to the same game environment that I've been hammering Brenton Strange. I've kind of been a believer in him all off season. You know, he had a decent start to the game last week, and I know we talk about it a lot, but they had that with that weather delay, and it was just weird. So I can definitely see him, you know, kind of putting up a decent score, and he's only 3,600. And you know, he might catch some ownership just because of that game environment. Everybody's going to be on that game. I think you could do worse than Strange there. So I think my flag plant would be Henry, but I don't hate Juwan or Strange either.
Yeah, I mean, y'all are spot on. I think Juwan and Strange are great plays. It's really hard to have a flag and Fannin. I think even Fannin, if the Baltimore, he's playing in the slot. He's not just playing tight end.
He's getting wildcats now.
He's getting
he's all over. They got him out wide in the slot.
Ah, man, it's yeah.
I'm interested to see what his ownership comes in at, because like what do they have Njoku at on the solver?
Got Njoku at 8.84.
8 and 4.
Yeah, and
4 for Fannin.
Yeah,
okay, 4. I wonder because their price is like what's Fannin's price?
3,100.
So literally
half the cost of McBride.
Yeah,
and he outscored McBride week 1.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. I don't think you can go wrong with a lot of these tight end plays. It's just kind of like pick whichever route you want to go up to. But I do think you don't have to pay up for McBride, but I feel like if you want to just be safe about it, then he's probably the safest play, obviously.
I mean, that's $3,000 you free up to pay up at defense or, you know, one of these other skill positions. So
yeah, most likely I'm probably going to be playing one of those guys. Oh man,
no love for Jake Tungus, Blake?
No.
You haven't picked a stacking partner with Mac Jones yet. You gonna play naked Mac Jones?
Yeah, maybe.
Or CMC.
Maybe I'll do that. Yeah. I'll probably, like I said, I'll probably go CMC or somebody around there. But tight end is just so flat. You know, I'll see where pricing comes in. Juwan Johnson, I do love that play this week. Juwan Johnson and Brenton Strange.
I wonder what the Saints defense is going to get, like ownership wise. You know, playing Mac Jones, like could be a sneaky play.
Chase Young back this week or no?
I'm not sure. Honestly, I haven't really dove into defenses. I know you probably want to target Miami potentially with how bad they looked last week. You know, target Carolina. So maybe the Cardinals and the Patriots are good defenses to target, but they're probably going to catch ownership, and they're also pretty expensive. So
surprisingly, the Patriots are only at 3.9 right now.
Yeah,
against Miami, the highest,
and they're only 2,800 too. So it's not terrible, not terribly priced. So
the field's going to the Rams, Steelers, Ravens, and Broncos.
I'm just going to throw my tight end flag plan out there real quick, and we can move defense. I'm going to go Juwan. I just don't see why not at this point. 11 targets last week, $3,600. You know, where else are you going to get that? You know, Fannin for 3,100 and Strange are other good ones. But I'll throw this out there because nobody's mentioned it, and kind of just it's different. Travis Kelce is actually interesting to me this week, right?
Leverage.
I think there's a lot of just weird narratives you can build around like him wanting to beat the Eagles and them also having no other receivers, right? The run game sucks. So I think it could be a lot of Travis Kelce this week. So maybe I'll warm up to that. We'll see. $5,000 for him is not bad either.
I'll throw another name out there that's a sleeper who had a pretty productive week one. Noah Fant. We want to be in on the Cincinnati game.
He's definitely a sneaky way to like get involved in that game.
0.5% ownership.
What's his price? Oh, it's 3,300. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So I mean, he's just in there, right? I would consider him in very large field stuff where you're maybe trying to get some ownership leverage.
He catches a touchdown and he pays for his price. So
I mean, he's only $700 cheaper than Mac Jones.
Blake's gonna have Mac Jones, Noah Fant, or Jake Tongas, and
Blake's
then
gonna have the
I'm gonna have $20,000 unused salary.
Blake's gonna have the most like large field GPP like
cash
lineup
game
in the most in like the 200 entry small field spy or something like that.
It'll be interesting to see what my final builds are. I will be building lineups in Korea, so maybe that'll throw me.
Yeah.
For a loop.
We got any? I mean, I don't know. What do y'all feel about defenses? Y'all want to talk about them? Throw any out there? I kind of have mentioned some of mine that I'll probably be leaning towards.
I think the first thing I do is look at the cheap ones, right, and see if there's any like matchups that I could see as not being bad. Cleveland, Baltimore. Yeah, I'd rather not touch that. Jets against Buffalo, probably don't want to touch that. Like that doesn't sound great to me. Chicago, Detroit, no. Yeah, it like not until going up until maybe Jacksonville at Cincinnati, right? Because I could see there being a lot of sacks. No, not even just fading, just sacks.
Sacks, yeah.
Right, just sacks, purely on sacks.
I think the Saints are an interesting play for me in the morning. I think about it just because of Mac Jones and
I'm not even sorted by salary.
Just the spot that San Francisco's in, like coming from the West Coast, early game. Nobody really. I mean, CMC and Pearsall and like maybe a hobble Juwan Jennings are the guys over there. So depleted roster, backup starter. I mean, I could see it. They didn't play terrible last week. They got a really good front seven. I don't know. I could see it.
I don't even look at salary or like ceiling with these defenses. I just look at ownership. This is the position I look at ownership the most. I like. I don't even like some of the top ceiling defenses. I think Seattle sneaky against Pittsburgh. I think.
Rams is the highest projected, right? At 3,100.
But see, the thing about defense is like this projections don't mean anything to me because like the Browns
super high variance.
The Browns could get a pick six or a couple fumbles or a couple just
super high variance.
Panthers had a pick last week, so like I mean these like super terrible defenses can easily run a touchdown back or something like that, and
that's kind of why I go for sacks, right? Sacks could give you the strip fumble, but they're also a little bit more predictive than anything else. Like scoring, for example, I feel like sacks you can bet on 2 or 3 sacks from a good team with a good sack rate versus a bad offense, for example.
I think I'd go. I mean, and this is game theory too. Like I like the Patriots against Miami, and this stacks up with the Drake May, Travion, Deshaun calls. Just a total onslaught. Patriots. I mean,
one of two things is right. One of two things is right about Miami, right? They're either the opposite of what we saw last week, or they're going to completely continue to fall off the rails, right? This week. So either you're really right or you're really wrong. But I mean, that's a chance that you take with it, right? So.
The other defense that was sticking out to me was the Cowboys at home against the Giants,
Yeah.
needing a win, and
And
They-
Russ being
They look
ass.
they look
Right.
decent against Philly. I mean, if they played above what people expected out of them. So
right,
yeah,
they're gonna get out the Russ, man.
Christian Gonzalez is a DNP this week.
yeah.
The Patriots look good. I mean, they look pretty stout against Vegas. I mean, they put up 7 fantasy points.
Yeah, and that's why I was looking to see if Christian Gonzalez is back, because that guy's a stud, right?
I don't
so if he
understand why San Francisco is priced that high versus the Saints.
I think it's just because the Saints, they're just priced because it's a low total game. Yeah, who knows what you're going to get out of Rattler?
True. Yeah, he could easily throw a pick six. He's not.
Now, I will say Denver, if you're paying up, calling bluff on Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
Sounds interesting to me.
Not bad. Yeah.
But I usually start from the bottom as far as pricing. So let me go there. And I usually just go to like one of the top teams that I feel there. And I don't think Tennessee is bad. Saints, I don't think are bad. I'll probably do that. Pittsburgh at 3,100 for a good bounce back isn't bad either.
Against Seattle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you got a lot of options, right? So,
I mean, even the Lions. Like if you're buying into Caleb Williams, just can't make these throws. Aiden Hutchinson's coming for blood. They're at home. They need a win.
they need to prove the doubters wrong after an embarrassing week 1. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're going to be motivated against their old coach.
I mean, the Vikings made Caleb look really bad in the second half. So
yeah.
And I mean, honestly, the Vikings played a lot better on defense than the final score would actually show, because they had a pick 6. So they had 7 points. The Vikings defense allowed 7 points less than what the final score showed. So yeah, I don't hate that one either. So
I think my flag plant. Yeah, so I'm set on it now. I'm gonna go Steelers.
Cool. Yeah, I think I'll probably flag plant the Saints. Honestly, I think I like that spot for them.
Yeah, I'll go. Can't really choose between Patriots and Lions.
Going against my Mac Jones. How dare you?
I think JSN is gonna have a lot to say about your Steelers pick there. I love Jalen Ramsey, but yeah, I'll go. It's a coin toss for me between Patriots and Lions. I'll go Lions, since I'm probably if I do the Drake May lineup, I want a Miami bring back, and I don't want to play any of the pieces against the defense. So I'll go Lions.
Sweet. All right, we just solved it for you guys. So drop us.
Congratulations on your $1 million.
Yeah. If anybody wins the milli off of this show, you know how to get in touch with us and give us a little bit.
Send us
break
a
us
tip.
off. All right, man. I think that's going to wrap it up. I feel pretty good about this slate now after we talked it out a little bit.
I definitely feel better.
Got some very clear direction on it. So hopefully it helps some of y'all out too. You know, we'll see you guys at the top of the leaderboards, and like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see y'all next week.
Good luck, everybody.
Follow up next week for our results.
For our
good or bad
winning breakdown. All right, y'all, take care.